Hey everybody, so today in this video I wanted to talk about the 3 levels of Allyship Mastery. Now, these levels are pretty much the same as all levels of mastery that evolve. I actually don't remember where I got this from. My best bet is George Leonard's amazing book on mastery, but if it's not in there, it's just really great wisdom that I picked up somewhere. But I've seen this play out in people's various allyship practices, and I'm gonna break down today exactly how you can quickly ascertain someone else's, hopefully your own level of allyship mastery. So the 3 levels are as follows. First, there is the cow, the machine, and the cat. So at the first level of mastery, you're not unlike a cow. You know how to, get your biological needs met, but as far as like moving around in the environment, interacting with the landscape, let's say that allyship is a region and not, necessarily a state of being. The cow needs the shepherd to sort of guide people where they need to go. The cow doesn't really have a whole lot of agency. It's mostly in response, and really to pretty broad force, be it a sheepdog or a shepherd or fences, gates, boundaries, all that stuff. They're very obvious, sort of obtuse creatures. Now, how does that play into allyship as it stands right now? Well, the cow folk are people who are just starting to realize that allyship is something they even need to care about. Maybe they've been cattle prodded by a negative experience. Maybe they're seeing changes happen at their job or any organizations that they're a part of, but somehow into their awareness, they're starting to recognize that something's got to change. Very early stage. If you find someone at this stage, be gentle with them. You're going to have to be a shepherd, or at the very least, sort of a border collie. You are not really going to get a lot of traction with people at this level of mastery showing up in any way that they can't already digest. Level 2 is the machine. The machine is when you start getting the actions that you want to do. Your responses start becoming mechanized. You start being able to see something, say something, respond in ways that you think matter. Lots of repetition, lots of reps. Very few people are at high levels of sort of machine level. Most people in their allyship are low level machine, and specifically in the wokeness camp, which is to say everyone knows how to respond to something that isn't right, or to spot an injustice, or to point out like a negative ally, and they have their quick, fast ways to deal with that. Cancel culture, in a lot of ways, is a robotic response to people showing up unmasterfully in their allyship. And this is a great level because this is where you really get efficient. But it's also a level that can be a trap, because if you get too efficient, if you get stuck in your ways, you won't necessarily broaden to the space where you can use real wisdom and discernment for how you show up as an ally. And the discernment and wisdom is where your effectiveness comes from. The machine can be efficient, but it might not be effective if it's being applied in the wrong way. And so that leads us to the 3rd level of mastery, which is the cat. As a cat person, and anyone who's seen a cat, they sort of can see how they move through the landscape. They walk very carefully, but they're also light on their feet. They respond very quickly to crisis, but then just as quickly sort of respond back into a calm, collected state. They seem to be able to move without thinking. They've internalized the lessons so much that it becomes second nature to them. This is the goal. This is why your allyship superpower should be something that takes 30 minutes that saves 9 months, because you're going to want to get so good at your allyship that it becomes second nature, that you can't not be a good ally. The very fact of you being in a room is going to increase the quality of allyship that shows up, and not in a robotic way, and not in a way that requires a lot of shepherding, but just in a way that makes sense, where you're embodying the state where effective allyship shows up. This is a very high state. I can't even say that I'm there. I'd love to say that I'm there. I'm aspiring to there. There are certain ways in which I show up, specifically when I'm in my superpower, where it does feel a little bit like the cat self, but there's always a space of growth, always sort of the next level. Like I mentioned, allyship is like Tetris, so I'm never going to stop trying to achieve higher levels of mastery. But you'll start knowing and feeling into your allyship power when you can feel and hold the state of being the cat longer. I'm going to guess that most of you don't feel comfortable, don't feel safe, don't feel like you could respond effectively in your allyship game. So that's a goal. Sometimes that might be the high peak for you to achieve, but it's an embodied goal, something that you can feel into. When you're worrying about something, you can ask yourself, okay, am I showing up as a cat, a machine, or a cow? And that usually will give you a nice jumping off point for what you should do next. So chew on that for a while, and I'll see you next time. Mastering Your Allyship book Kickstarter launches March 1st. Get ready to check it out. It's going to be amazing.